Yeah, looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties to start the show, but that's okay. What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy Sommer. We got a fun show for you tonight. We got breaking news coming up on the other side about a former All-Pro running back. We're going to talk Game of the Week, Bills versus Chiefs. We're going to recap the week, and we're going to talk dudes getting thrown out of the club by Derrick Henry. We're going to talk Dan Quinn. It's fired coach season. Dolphins surprise. Browns surprises. Chase Claypool. Is he for real? Fantasy football with at Detroit Beastie, and more. Let's roll. We'll see you on the What is up? We've got breaking news. You know me. My name is Jeremy. And that man to my left or right, depending on which side of the screen it turns up to be, is Drew Ward. Mr. Ward's Wagers. How you doing tonight, brother?
Fantastic, sir. Good evening.
Good evening to you. We got some good, fun breaking news to start the show. Le'Veon Bell, the former All-Pro running back, three-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, released by the New York Jets. He is signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think about Le'Veon going to the Chiefs?
You listen. It just gives him another weapon. He breaks out of the Jets organization, which right now wasn't doing him any favors.
Absolutely not. I mean, Adam Gase has been trash, so I'm with you on that.
And Andy Reid, we've talked about this. Andy Reid's ability to just call just the hell of a game. And just get guys in open positions. Le'Veon Bell is going to get touches in space. He just wasn't really efficient as a Jet because the team's hot garbage. And so I think with all the weapons there and what they're able to do offensively, just with the opening the playbook and some of those things, I think he's going to he's really going to succeed. And I don't know how much from a fantasy perspective we can ask Chris about this. Does it change Clyde Edwards-Helaire type, position? Because there's different touches going around. I doubt it's really effective, but it's the Chiefs are just doing what is smart to do. You're a team ready to win right now. And if the more good players you can bring to your team, then those are the things you do. And then they're getting it for a way different price tag than the Jets were paying.
Absolutely. I mean, we were hard on them last year when they didn't acquire Jalen Ramsey. We thought they needed more defense, especially you. You were really hard on them. Get more defense or you're not going to win a Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl with the guys they had, but you bring in Le'Veon, and you look at what he can do. He's an above-average pass blocker. He's a great catch. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He hits the hole. He's a patient runner. And you look at what CEH has done so far. I mean, game one, 138 yards rushing.
Things are slowed down.
38, 64, 64, and 40. Still only got one score on the season. Now, people who think, okay, well, now CEH is going to disappear. No, you hit it on the head with your thoughts. Andy Reid's going to work these guys together. It's going to work out. It's going to be a great marriage of football. I think this is a great pickup for the Chiefs, and I think it's great for Le'Veon himself. And when you look at Le'Veon in the price, which you mentioned, all those guys, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, all those running backs who signed the big money deals, all of them are with different teams now. So
let me ask you this real quick, though.
Hit it.
What it was rumored that the Bills and the Dolphins were also involved in this. I'm sure you saw that. Do you think that the Bills are a better fit for him right now, scheme-wise? As far as just football, I mean, I'm not saying that the Chiefs are more primed to win a Super Bowl now, which maybe that was important to him. But I thought the Bills were an interesting destination, although they do have young running backs.
No, I think the Bills would have been a great fit for him because it doesn't look like they really want to commit to Devin Singletary. Every time you think they're going to start committing to Devin Singletary, they're like, okay, now we're going to work Zach Moss. And even when Zach Moss was out, it didn't fully look like they were committing to Devin Singletary. So if he would have gone to the Bills, he may have been their feature back with Devin Singletary spelling him at times. So, yeah, I'm with you on that, where I think that it may have been a better fit for him.
Yeah. All right. And the Dolphins are basically, I mean, the Dolphins are better than the Jets, but if he wants to win anything, he would
Yeah, this was about winning. I think if he's going into free agency long term next year, then maybe the Dolphins are a place he looks. I mean, Myles Gaskin is playing pretty well. At least putting up decent fantasy numbers. He is finally getting the ball at the goal line. They finally went away from, hey, we got let Myles Gaskin get us here, and now we're going to go to Jordan Howard, and that hasn't worked out for them in that 1 year, 2 years, $10 million deal or whatever they gave him. It just hasn't worked out so far. But there's other news going on. We'll move on from that. Let's get into a quick weekend recap here. Dan Quinn, 46-44 with the Atlanta Falcons, 3-2 in the postseason. He became the Atlanta Falcons head coach on February 2nd, 2015. He led the Falcons to Super Bowl 51, and they collapsed. Up 28-3, the biggest blown lead in Super Bowl history, to drop to 34-28 loss to the Patriots. And that team hasn't been the same. We've talked Dan Quinn. We thought he was going to get fired last year.
Yeah.
I mean, after the last game, did it surprise you at all that he was gone at an 0-5 start?
No, but I think if you're Arthur Blank and that team in general, you probably at this point are like, maybe we should have what everybody thought they would do. The thing is, they started off like shit last year, and then they were really good at the end of the year, and it kind of saved Dan Quinn's job.
Absolutely.
But, however, the thing is, they're came out terrible this year. And when you're Arthur Blank, you have to think, man, should we have taken care of this business in the offseason? What are we doing here? Because now we're firing a coach midseason. Now we have to look. Now we're making remarks in the press that are somewhat suspect about Matt Ryan's future with the team. And there's a lot of talent on that roster still now. They're just really not getting it done. And so I'm pissed at the Falcons. They keep screwing me on my picks. I'm going to fade them this week, but yeah, that's all. I mean, it was time, and Dan Quinn knows it's time.
Yeah. Raheem Morris, 17-31 as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach. He takes over now. This team, we're only 5 games in, 11 games left. What do you expect out of them the rest of the way?
They'll be. I mean, they're going to be better. It's just, I don't know. I think it's going to take a step back, a look at where they are right now, and to reassess things, in my opinion. I honestly have no idea. I mean, the talent's there, kind of, more offensively, but I really don't know. I really don't know where this heads. I mean, it certainly is not a great – I mean, in theory, let me ask you this. If you look at Atlanta's opening come the offseason, do you think it's going to be one of the more intriguing spots, or do you think that with an old Matt Ryan, a Julio Jones who's been nicked up all year, is that spot all of a sudden not really becoming as valuable to a head coach?
I think it depends on what kind of GM they're looking for, what Arthur Blank wants to do going forward. Matt Ryan still owed a lot of money. You still got Julio Jones. You still got Grady Jarrett. You've got pieces and parts there. But if a head coach is coming in, he's like, how married to Matt Ryan are you? Are we sticking with this guy? Or if we have a top 5 pick, are we looking at taking a Justin Field and maybe moving on in a year? What is Arthur Blank going to let the new GM and head coach do moving on? I think that is the key to finding the new guy. But it is an interesting job. You got a brand new stadium there still. You've got great pieces and parts. You've got a lot of things to work with. I mean, it just depends on how much they're going to let them move on from the pieces that are there. I mean, how much more does Matt Ryan have left in him, do you think?
A good 3-4 years, in my opinion. 4 years? I really do. I think that team just in general has just not been good. And he hasn't been good. But, like, look at his numbers last year. They were pretty damn good. They were Matt Ryan numbers. So I still think he has 3 more years in him. I really do. I mean, he's not – look at some quarterbacks around the league. I mean, are you taking Matt Ryan? Are you taking Mitch Trubisky?
I'm taking Mitch Trubisky, baby.
Get out of here. All right. Well, never mind.
Yeah, obviously Matt Ryan is the choice there. Matt Ryan is the guy you want to go with. But, I mean, let's say you are Eric Bieniemy and you have your choice. And we talked about him in the Texans last week. If I'm Eric Bieniemy and I got Deshaun Watson, who I can go to, but I've got a cupboard that's bare, and I've got J.J. Watt on the downside of his career, or I can go to Atlanta. I can have Matt Ryan to start with Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and I could get my quarterback of the future in this draft as well. That's the kind of, if that's what they're going to allow the new GM to do and the new head coach, that is a much more, I mean, that's a better job to me than going to Houston right now. If you can choose that and have your quarterback.
Oh, I agree. You
can't go wrong. And for those watching on Facebook and YouTube, we hope you're seeing us okay. Periscope link is down right now for some reason. I'm trying to get that back on, but it is not coming back up. Something going on with Periscope that's not allowing us to stream live. So for those on Facebook and YouTube watching live, we appreciate you. Remember, you can like our page on Facebook, fb.me/FCFSpod. Follow us on Twitter at FCFSpod, at Somerville CLE, at Detroit Dave 7. And please share our page. Check us out. Leave a comment. You can comment on anything we're talking about tonight. We're going to move on. We'll go hit one more thing here on weekend recap, and then we will go on to fantasy football. We'll talk to Chris at Detroit Beastie. We'll talk to him about a few things, especially Le'Veon Bell and the Chiefs. But let's talk Titans-Bills Monday Night Football, or Tuesday Night Football, sorry. And this play especially, where Derrick Henry throws Josh Norman out of the club. That's a 210-pound man. Just launches him into a Street Fighter pose. Absolute bonkers. I mean, Derrick Henry, baby. I mean, he didn't have a great game. He was, 3 yards of carry. He still had 2 scores. But that was just a sick play, at least. And it didn't even count. It came back on a flag offsides, I think, or something. I don't remember. But was that the most fun play of the weekend, at least?
Yes. Yeah, it was. It is just like, to me, the internet always wins. They immediately just meme the shit out of that whole play, and it's just still going on, and it's fantastic. Josh Norman got roasted that whole game, too. It wasn't just that play. They just tore him to shreds. It was hard to watch. But, yeah, good stuff. That was fun.
I mean, getting back to the game, a 42-16 Titans win. The Titans, who basically held the league hostage with their COVID outbreak, they come back. Tannehill 4 scores. The defense beat up Josh Allen. Were you surprised at how good the Titans were on Tuesday night?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was. Don't get me wrong, the Titans were good. I think Josh Allen wasn't very good. I think he just tried to force feed Stephon Diggs. If you watch that game, I mean, Stephon Diggs probably had to have 15 targets. I think he had 10 catches. But yeah, I mean, they didn't run the ball very effectively, I think. And either did Tennessee. Really, I think Ryan Tannehill was very good. I think early interception. Anytime you get an early interception that doinks off a guy's hands to the other team, it's just a tough thing, especially when you're playing a good football team on the road. I mean, listen, that's a loss to a good team. Tennessee can play. That defense is fun. Josh Allen seemed hurried most of the night. He just wasn't himself. So I'm not surprised that they won. I'm surprised at how much they won by, I guess I can say.
Yeah, I was surprised at the score, 42-16. That was an ass whooping. It was a straight-up ass whooping. And we'll talk about the Bills later because the Bills-Chiefs is our game of the week this week, 4-1. Kansas City traveling to Orchard Park to face the 4-1 Buffalo Bills. We will talk more about them later. But for the Bills, I mean, every game they've played, their defense has struggled. And this is a defense we thought was going to be pretty good coming in the year. And a lot of people still look at it as a pretty solid defense. But everyone except for the New York Jets, and we know why the New York Jets didn't do it, has done pretty well against that defense. And by the way, that is a free Darnold sign behind me there. That's our 0-cent budget on the show today. Free Sam Darnold, get him out of New York. Get him away from Adam Gase. But for the Bills, yeah, absolutely. Josh Allen struggled. It was his worst game. It was tough. But you saw the kid still fight, still battle. I mean, the moxie of the kid. We've knocked him on this show many times, but the kid has just turned into a damn good football player, and he's gotten better in the pocket and passing-wise, so props to that. But what it comes down to is now you got two teams coming off losses. 40-32 loss for the Chiefs. They're 42-16 loss for the Bills. How does Josh Allen bounce back knowing that the Chiefs are coming in, knowing that you're going to have to go mano-a-mano with the best player in the NFL in Pat Mahomes. I think that's going to be a big thing going into next week or going into this game this week. Now, before we bring on Chris, check out our new merchandise at bonfire.com/store/FCFS-Gs. We got all kinds of shirts up there. We got hoodies up there. And we have our Fantasy Beast shirt in honor of our next guest at Detroit Beastie. Bring him on right now. Chris, brother, how you doing tonight?
I'm great, boys. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure as always. Le'Veon Bell.
I dipped in a little early, and you left me on hold, and I was able to listen to some of the show. So I'm happy with that.
Well, we hope you enjoyed what you listened to so far.
Absolutely. So Le'Veon Bell, you're saying? Well, I don't know where to begin. You know, I'd be lying if I told you, you know, going on Twitter the last 20 or 30 minutes didn't make me happy for all those people that, you know, tried shoving Clyde Edwards down our throats all season, or excuse me, all off season into the spring and then to start the season. Because I think instead of, you know, making a point to keep running back records when every time I mention a guy and they score a touchdown, let's keep the record going of every time I'm on, I tell you how toxic and awful Twitter is.
That's absolutely. I mean, let me ask you this.
Around now.
So let me ask you this. So when you're looking at Le'Veon Bell, and of course you won't play this week, does that shake up as far as, I mean, of course it's going to shake up carries slightly, but how much do you think that shakes up Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's touches here in the next few weeks?
To be honest with you, we don't know anything, right? I mean, social media in terms of Twitter and Facebook, they're good at knowing it. They already know what's going to happen, right? Let's say, oh, well, let's be honest here. You know, Clyde Edwards is going to be fine. He's going to get those D-Will touches because he opted out. So there's a clear role in place here. So they're already the coach. They're already Andy Reid on Twitter, and they already know what's going on. And to be honest, I can't answer that question because we don't know. As you said, right before I came on, I just read that now Bell has to, you know, he's not going to practice. He's got to be away for 5 days. And then on the 6th day, he's going to get tested. And if it's clean, bam, he can practice. So obviously he's not playing this weekend.
Right.
But I don't know where it's going to lead. Who's the better running back? Is it Le'Veon Bell or is it the young kid in Clyde Edwards-Hilaire? Now, we have a bigger sample size for Bell, and we've only seen, you know, 5 or 6 games for Clyde Edwards, right? And, you know, after the first game of the season against Houston, he hasn't been their RB1 doing it all. You know, that Kansas City team is a well-oiled machine. They're hitting on all cylinders all the time. And it seems like the running back position for that team isn't put upon, meaning he's not asked to do a ton, you know, 50 yards and a touchdown gets the job done because, you know, the sum of all parts and, you know, not one position is greater than the team, you know, all those football cliches. So it's yet to be seen. I've always been a Le'Veon Bell fan, even when he played at Michigan State. He looked fantastic in Pittsburgh. And then everything that's happened was kind of self-imposed when he sat out a year and he gets signed by the Jets. He made the decision to go to the Jets and they did nothing there with him because Gase is I don't know what the heck Gase is. He's not a coach.
Genius.
He's not a head coach. I'll tell you that much. I was listening to I took my mom to the doctor's this morning and I was listening to an old Howard Stern clip from, I think it was the first season the Jets had him. And, you know, Gary, his producer, Bob Abu, said, yeah, Howard asked him about the Jets, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, they got Gase in here. It's his first game, and they brought him in because he's good with young quarterbacks. So they brought him in to move Sam Darnold along. And you fast forward to now, and that team is awful. Sam Darnold's a third stringer. He's not even going to be active this weekend. Let's be honest. He single-handedly has absolutely trashed that team, kind of along the lines that what Bill O'Brien did in Houston.
100%. I mean, Adam Gase has been absolute trash.
And now they're looking
with any of that.
Now they're looking to trade what's his name, Quinnen Williams. Or, isn't he a rookie or a second year?
Second year.
He was brought in to be a defensive tackle stud. He's a big body, you know. And so next, you would think that monster Mekhi Becton is it's awful. There's no end in sight. And I thought I'd never say that, being a Lions fan, that another team is worse off.
they're absolutely running themselves like the 2016-17 Hugh Jackson Cleveland Browns teams, where you're trading all your best players, get rid of the old guys, bring in a whole brand new young version of everything. And I mean, it's just absolute trash. But let's move on to another item here. Dak Prescott injured this weekend. Andy Dalton takes over now in Dallas with all those weapons around him. What is your outlook for Andy Dalton with the Cowboys for the rest of the season? Is he a guy you should probably keep on your roster or wait and see?
Yeah, I'm going to add him. I don't think wait and see applies here because if you wait a minute too long, he's going to be gone somewhere else. So I would add him absolutely in a super flex league for sure. 2 quarterback league for sure, kind of one and the same. But in a standard scoring 1 quarterback league, I don't think you have to pay him, any mind. Maybe grab him as a backup. But that's a great question because this week was nothing but fab questions and waiver priority questions. And I've seen some pretty wild fab budgets or the price people spent to grab Andy Dalton. So to be fair, to be honest with you, the guy's a seasoned vet. He's a Texas kid. He's got what it takes. We saw, when he played for Cincinnati, he had AJ Green, a young AJ Green at his disposal, and he fed that kid. He fed AJ Green. They linked up and they played pretty well together for years. And now he goes to Dallas and he's got three players just like that. Lamb, it looks to be an absolute stud. Michael Gallup hasn't done much. I don't know. I've never heard of the backup quarterback coming in and jump starting a positional player's, playing time. But who knows? With Andy Dalton, anything goes. The kid loves to throw the ball. So I fully believe that Andy Dalton can support all the talent that's going on in Dallas right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I hope a lot of people listen to this and do pick him up, especially if you had Dak. And speaking of guys that you might have picked up recently, Mike Davis, Carolina. CMC might be back soon. Is this a week where you might want to trade Mike Davis and get the most value out of him, or do you hang on to him just a little bit longer?
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right. That with these guys, they're such short windows for usage, right? Like a guy like Mike Davis, or even a guy like Alexander Mattinson in Minnesota. He's got a 1-week window where you can sell him at his highest value. But in terms of what's his name, Mike Davis, yeah, I would look to sell this weekend. I mean, I'm not afraid to tell you, I have Mike Davis ranked in my top 5 at running back this weekend. My rankings, I'll publish them probably tomorrow. Find them on, I think it's Fantasy Pros. That's where you can find them. And I mean, that's the norm here this week because they're playing Chicago. And it looks to be an all-out war with those 2 teams. So I would look to sell Mike Davis now. Normally, we would be sitting here saying, let's let Mike Davis have a top 5 running back week, in week 6, and then we sell him. But the window's closed by then because McCaffrey should and would be back by week 7. So now is the time to sell if you have him. And I would take I would be very loose with what I receive back. Although Mike Davis has been a top 10 back these last few weeks. And as I said, he's top 5 this week. I would sell him for to be honest with you, I would accept David Montgomery for Mike Davis. I would accept Mostert, Ronald Jones, Devin Singletary, any one of those guys if I could get my hands on him, because let's say, you don't, he has a big week. McCaffrey's back in week 7. Then you're talking about getting caliber players like Zach Moss, J.D. McKissick, Tony Pollard type of guys. So it's like, sell while you can, people.
Excellent answer. Get rid of Mike Davis now. You heard the man. Drew, what do you got?
Yeah. So here's my question. OBJ or Jamison Crowder this week? Jamison Crowder, although the Jets are a dumpster fire, Jamison Crowder's actually been pretty productive as far as fantasy-wise goes.
Correct, yes. So to answer your question, let me double check in my rankings real quick. So I have them separate. I'm not talking about rankings projections. I have them separated by literally 1.2 points. I have OBJ at about 15.3, and I have Crowder at like 14.8. So it's less than a point. But in terms of your question, I would feel comfortable starting Crowder over Odell Beckham, and I'll tell you why. So as it stands now, Jeremy knows about this. Odell Beckham was sent home, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, due to illness.
or he didn't come to practice due to illness. We don't know what kind of illness that is. You would like to think if it was actual COVID, a positive COVID test or COVID concerns, we would know right away, because it would be, you can't get around that kind of stuff in terms of, letting media or beat writers know that kind of stuff. So who's to say Odell Beckham doesn't play this weekend? Let's say best case scenario, he plays. I would still rather start Crowder, because he's all they have as it stands now on that team. They're gonna get a steady dose of Frank Gore and the rookie and the Michael Perrine in the backfield this weekend. So I'm looking for the Jets to be throwing, early and often this weekend. And I hate to talk, floors and ceilings all the time. And to be honest with you, a year or two ago, I don't want to say I didn't understand what that meant, but it just wasn't in my repertoire of talking fantasy football. And now I fully understand it, and it makes a lot of sense in a situation like this. Crowder has the safer floor. You can pencil Crowder in for 5-6 catches. I mean, that's a lock for 5-6 catches. OBJ, you're hoping his floor is like anywhere between 2 and 3 catches, and you hope he gets 30 or 40 yards, right? So the safer floor goes to Crowder. If you want, as it stands now, OBJ is cautioning on the side of your prototypical boom or bust guy. He's either going to bust out or he's going to boom and score 2 fluky touchdowns like he did a couple weeks ago. So to answer your question, I'm going Jamison Crowder here.
Perfect. Thanks, man. What do you got, Jeremy?
All right, we've talked about Mike Davis, Andy Dalton, guys you could trade, guys you could pick up. Who are your top guys this week that you should start, and who are some of your bottom 4 guys?
Well, in terms of DFS or just overall kind of guys, are you asking?
Either one. Hit us with what you got.
All right, let's do a quick run through a bottom of the barrel, if you boys don't mind, real quick.
Let's roll.
Yes, sir.
This weekend, a guy that I am starting in all formats, and it makes me sick to even say this, being a Lions fan, and Drew can relate here. It's Kirk Cousins, the Minnesota Vikings quarterback. They're home against the Atlanta Falcons, which you talked about while I was on hold, making funny faces to you guys. Atlanta Falcons they're 32nd overall on defense, and there's only 32 teams in the NFL. They can't get any lower. And on FanDuel, he's $7,100, and on DraftKings, he's $6,100. I have Kirk penciled in. I'll write it in stone. 220 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is floor this weekend. I fully expect him to do 250 plus and 3 touchdowns. And at that price,
can't beat it.
You can't beat it, right? And then another quarterback I want to mention real quick is Ryan Tannehill here. He's home against the Houston Texans. And Houston is, I've said it on your show plenty of times so far this season, Houston had an absolutely awful schedule to start the season. In Kansas City, then they went to Baltimore, and then they played Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and now their schedule finally lightens up, right? So aside from that, I believe Tannehill's $7,300 on FanDuel. He's $5,900 on DraftKings. And if you guys didn't know, I have a sticky note around here somewhere.
I'm sure you do.
Right here, comparing. If you look at let me see. Yep, here it is. If you compare Ryan Tannehill and Patrick Mahomes in their last 14 games, their stats are almost identical. The only place that Mahomes is beating out Tannehill is in yards, and we're only talking like 400 or 500 yards. They're both 11-3. They both passed. I believe Tannehill has thrown for more touchdowns over that span. I believe it's like 14 to 16 or something like that. Tannehill has actually had a higher quarterback rating than Patrick Mahomes, and no one's talking about Tannehill. And for DFS purposes, it's ripe for the picking. As I said, $7,300 on FanDuel, $5,900 on DraftKings. And I noticed, I didn't do this on purpose, but I get in such a tizzy when I write bottom of the barrel, Monday, Tuesday, and Monday, if you so have you. And I've noticed I got a lot of NFC North guys in here, and I promise you that wasn't by design. It just happened to be that way, just following the numbers and the matchups. A guy that is a must play for me this weekend is David Montgomery, the Chicago Bears running back. They're in Carolina. Carolina is dead last against opposing running backs. He's $5,900 on FanDuel. He's $5,800 on DraftKings. I have him I got him at about 160 total yards this weekend. 85 rushing yards, 35 receiving yards. He's going to score twice, a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. And it's as good as it gets for a guy like Demont, and his prices and his matchup. It just makes it so sweet. And one guy who I've heard literally nobody talking about, I'm not going to take credit for it, but it's Mike Boone. Dalvin Cook he's not playing this weekend, and it's just like a safety thing because they're on a bye week in week 7. So Cook gets a full almost 3 weeks to rest up his groin or his hamstring, whatever it is. And everybody and their mother is on Alexander Mattinson this weekend, right? And his price reflects that. This is one of the only times that I can remember in recent memory where a guy's price was as it should be in terms of a backup, right? FanDuel went on hiatus for 2 or 3 days on Sunday into Monday. I didn't even get my Sunday money until Tuesday afternoon sometime. So just a classic case, I always say it, of zigging when others zag. Mike Boone, he's playing Atlanta Falcons, who are 23rd against opposing running backs. He's $5,100 on FanDuel. He's an even $4,000 on DraftKings. And again, with those prices, I'm not expecting the moon and stars with Mike Boone, right? Sure. All we're looking for, and I have him written in for about 5-6 carries. I mean, I think actually 8. 10 would be a little ambitious, but you give me 8 carries at that price, and we've seen both Mattinson and Boone can be efficient with their carries, and they're going to be okay. So David Montgomery and Mike Boone. If you want to transition to wide receivers real quick, more NFC North guys. Rookie Justin Jefferson, Darnell Mooney from the Bears, and I like Chase Claypool again, but I want everybody to know, temper your expectations. And the only reason what are the chances this kid scores 16 touchdowns this week, right?
Exactly.
So when it comes to Chase Claypool, his price, I said it last week. I had CeeDee Lamb in bottom of the barrel, and his price wasn't adjusted. It was $5,900, and lo and behold, Lamb has graduated. He'll no longer be on bottom of the barrel. I know, but Justin Jefferson, he's against Atlanta again, 25th overall against the opposing wide receivers. I love the stack. I love the Kirk Cousins stack with Justin Jefferson stack. Who's to say that Justin Jefferson doesn't score twice? I firmly believe Kirk Cousins throws the ball to Jefferson for a touchdown. I want to say 30 or 40-yard touchdown this weekend. Write this down for me. I think it's going to be a 35 or a 37-yard touchdown. Don't ask me how I came to that number. Just write it down. Jeremy? Just write it down and we'll revisit it. And be on the lookout for Darnell Mooney this weekend. Lo and behold, he has one of the best wide receiver and cornerback matchups this weekend. I forget who he's playing, the cornerback. I didn't write it down. They're playing Carolina, but he is one of the worst ranked starting cornerbacks in the league. So Mooney can be, can get over on this kid. He's 5,000 on FanDuel, and he's an even 3K on DraftKings. It doesn't get much cheaper than that. And the next two guys in tight end, I did a broadcast before this. I was given a show by this other website about, to discuss about, the bottom of the barrel. It's called Going Deep, right? Play on words or whatever. And I talked about how weird would it be, because FanDuel, as I've said, they completely dropped the ball. They've given out free contests, like vouchers for contests. And I got several $1 million maker contests for FanDuel. I got 3 or 4 of them this weekend. They're each $4.44, right? And I'd have a better chance at flying to the moon than winning the $1 million, right? There's literally 250,000 people in that contest. So with all 4 lineups, I'm going to use bottom of the barrel every ounce of it, and I'm going to get as crazy and wild as I can get. And I'm even thinking about stacking Irv Smith Jr., Minnesota's tight end, who hasn't done a thing, and Richard Rodgers, the Philadelphia Eagles tight end here. And I'll give you a case for both. Irv Smith Jr.'s, it's real simple. This kid hasn't done anything. He was touted as the sleeper of sleepers in the offseason, and he hasn't done a thing, as I've said. So pretty simple. If Irv Smith Jr. doesn't do it this week, if he doesn't break out or do anything on Sunday, it's not happening, people. He's fully droppable if he doesn't do a thing on Sunday. And I like again, it's kind of, you get a 3-way stack going. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, and Irv Smith Jr. Let's say each guy scores a touchdown. Kirk Cousins throws for 2 or 3 touchdowns. That alone, will get you in some sort of just a piece of the pie, let's say. So when it comes to Richard Rodgers, Zach Ertz he looks awful. I don't know if you guys saw it. In the summer, there was a picture of him at a party, right? And he looked like he lost 80 pounds. He looked sick, right? And there's something wrong with him, and I don't know. I shouldn't say that. That's rude of me. And I don't know, but he's not.
I get what you're saying.
He's not a top 5 tight end as he was drafted to be in the start of the season, right? And Dallas Goedert looks to be the heir apparent there. He's still to be out. So I think Richard Rodgers gets a lot of play this weekend at home against the Baltimore team. I fully expect to just absolutely trounce them as early as the first half, meaning the second half will just be a large dosage of Carson Wentz throwing the ball over there. And Richard Rodgers is $4,400 on FanDuel. He's the cheapest you can get on DraftKings at $2,500. So realistically, all you need out of Richard Rodgers is 2 catches for 30 yards. And if he can turn one of those catches into a touchdown, it's gravy. The name of the game here is value. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I hope you took notes and we can read them back this time next weekend.
We're going to.
And tell me how awful I did.
I got them down because I'm going to use basically everything you said to put my own FanDuel lineup together, especially with that free ticket this week. But we do have a question coming from our YouTube page from Rock Out. Sure. I got a trade offer for Godwin, and I would get CEH, but I'm not sure now with Bell there now. You trade Godwin for CEH, or do you not take that offer?
I'm holding Godwin here because I assume he owns Godwin. I'm going to keep Godwin here. If you notice, Rock Out, if you notice, the CEH owner is trying to take advantage in some way, because CEH still has the name value, the rookie luster, and for some odd reason, I'm only telling you what I would think as the CEH owner. I'm trying to get over on somebody that A, maybe hasn't heard the news that Bell is there yet, and B, thinks that CEH is still going to be the second coming there in Kansas City. Yeah. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But with Bell there, his chances go down drastically. So I'm going to hold Godwin here for the time being.
I like it.
I agree with that. I like that. Definitely listen to that. So we got David Montgomery high, Vikings high, Irv Smith, who had 5 targets last week. I think that was his career high.
Yeah.
Mike Boone is a guy you talked about. I think last year, 17 carries, 148 yards against the Bears, week 17 or something. So definitely can get it done.
Yeah, those Minnesota running backs can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think of a third string running back like Boone to have standalone value, but Cook isn't exactly the pillar of health. And Mattinson, I find him to be a stud. If he was on any other team than the Vikings, I believe he would be in the mix for RB1 type touches and RB1 type numbers. The kid is fast, he's electric, but again, he's not going to get 15 or he's not going to get 30 carries on Sunday. Right. I think I have him from memory at about a healthy dose of 17, 18 carries on Sunday, but I think that's the cutoff, and then Boone can sneak in and get the other 10 carries. So at his price of $5,100 on FanDuel, if you could promise me that Mike Boone was going to get 10 to 12 carries without a doubt, then it's I don't know what a step up of was a no-brainer. Is a lock, a sure thing, I don't know.
Stone cold lock on that. All right, who are some of the guys we're staying away from this week?
Well, let's start at quarterback real quick, if you don't mind here. So looking at the landscape of the quarterback position, there's only a handful of guys that we know we should start week in and week out, and then we're left with this plethora of Andy Daltons and Teddy Bridgewaters and Daniel Jones and stuff like that. So I think it's finally time to cut bait with Matt Ryan, the Atlanta Falcons quarterback. As I said, they're going to Minnesota this weekend. And for some odd reason, look, I don't know Arthur Blank. I don't know anybody in that organization, but I feel like at 0-5, I firmly believe Minnesota's going to beat them this weekend, so they'll be 0-6. I firmly believe that they're going to start, breaking this team down, stripping some pieces away and shipping them off. And in turn, I don't want to start Julio Jones this week. If you own Julio Jones, I would look to sell him now. I would think, because he still is Julio Jones. But I firmly believe Atlanta. I believe I even said it on your show last weekend. If Atlanta goes 0-5, this organization is going to explode. It's going to crumble. Yep. And lo and behold, I think we're in the start of seeing that kind of thing shake out here. Carson Wentz, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I don't know why you'd want to start Carson Wentz week in and week out. They're playing Baltimore this weekend. And again, I know I don't want to contradict myself, but I fully expect Wentz to be down 20, 30 points, right? And just throw. But yeah. We've seen Wentz. He's made a ton of mistakes. His touchdown to interception ratio is out of whack. I think he's actually thrown more interceptions than touchdown this season, if you want to double check that. And I don't like, no offense here, Jeremy, but I don't like Baker Mayfield this weekend in Pittsburgh. Yeah. It's a divisional game, and this division is fantastic. All these teams hate each other, and going to Pittsburgh is no easy feat. This defense is young. They're playing well still, like we expected them to be, and I'm going to sit Baker Mayfield this weekend.
With you on that. Stay away from Baker.
Yeah, and if you want to touch on running backs real quick, it's a bummer, but it's, again, another no-brainer. I think we have to sit Melvin Gordon this weekend. The dummy got a DUI, went 35 over the speed limit. It's unbelievably silly. You make all this money. You have the backing of an NFL franchise. I mean, it doesn't get any support, any more supportive than that is. And you're still driving drunk, or these guys are driving around with guns in their car. It's just absolutely insane. Let me give you a guy that's kind of, because I'm going down my rankings and I'm looking at guys ranked in the 30s or 40s, and it could go either way. I don't like Raheem Mostert this weekend, just for the simple fact he hasn't played in a while. Let's just see how things shake out there before we go all in on Mostert, because Jet McKinnon is there doing some good things. Jeff Wilson Jr. is still there. I mean, I would imagine Jeff Wilson is now buried again. You can probably cut him if you added him for Raheem Mostert was away. I don't like, everybody's on James Robinson this weekend just because they're home playing the Lions. And I have no factual evidence of this, just a gut feeling here. This is one of those games where, and this is just for Drew, you can attest to this. This is solely based on my long-term fandom of the Lions, right? This is one of those games where everybody's not counting the Lions out, but they're saying, oh, we have this whole game mapped out. Both teams are awful. It's going to be fantasy points galore, and we can set in stone Robinson is going to be fantastic. DJ Shark is going to be fantastic. And guess what? The Lions wind up shutting the team out. So what are the chances that the Lions completely shut down Jacksonville? I don't think that happens, but it has all the makings of that for me. And I have a feeling about that, right? So I'm going to sit James Robinson this weekend, boys.
Anything at wide receiver, my man?
Absolutely. Bring it up, my projections and rankings now, and we'll go from there. So if you look at I have D-Hop 1, Adams 2, I have Calvin Ridley 3. Answer this if you can. Do you think Calvin Ridley is now the wide receiver 1 in Atlanta?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah. We just had 0 points 2 weeks ago.
Absolutely.
0. I don't want to talk about that still. That's a sore subject.
I mean, listen, I know Julio's been banged up, but no, yes, but for fantasy owners, how crippling was that 0 catch game?
True.
Julio Jones
160 to 160, dude. 160 to 160 going into that game. I needed 1 point in a PPR league, and he got 0 catches for 0 yards.
And if I'm not mistaken, he was like a top 5 play that week. I'm saying overall, not at just wide receiver. So I don't want anything to do with any of the San Francisco 49ers wide receivers this weekend. They're playing the Rams. The Rams are, obviously that team is completely offensive minded. That team runs through Jared Goff and Sean McVay on the offensive side of things, but their defense is starting to come together. They've had some, I only know this just because I play in IDP leagues, but they've had some kids step up at the defensive line position. A linebacker, if I'm not mistaken, has been playing well recently. So I'm staying away from those San Francisco 49ers wide receivers. And, answer me this. I feel like it's just a big wasteland there in their wide receivers. Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. I don't even know how many wide receivers they have, but they're all like one guy for me. One guy is always
one mediocre guy.
Yeah, one mediocre guy. Yeah, so I think I'm going to sit Will Fuller the 5th this weekend at Tennessee. Tennessee has been. I know without a doubt, I said this in a lot of writings and podcasts leading up to the season where, people, well, what do you think of the Tennessee Titans this season, having lost in the AFC Championship game? And I said, if the Titans can recapture some of that magic that they had with Tannehill and Derrick Henry, I think they're going to be okay. And they have. As I said at the beginning of the show, Tannehill has been playing lights out. He's the quarterback he's the quarterback we all thought he was going to be when Miami drafted him. He's just doing it for another team now, which is fantastic.
No Adam Gase. Adam Gase.
That's it. He is the kiss of death for your fantasy teams. Another guy at wide receiver I want to mention, I want nothing to do with, and it's pretty clear with my tweets on Twitter. T.Y. Hilton. This guy I don't want to say he's washed because he's still a professional athlete, but I believe he's 31 or 32. He hasn't put up 100 receiving yards in a game since Andrew Luck was his quarterback in 2018. So, I mean, if you want to start T.Y. Hilton and get 4 or 5 catches for 50 yards, then be my guest, because I would imagine if you have T.Y. Hilton, I'd hate to see what the rest of your receivers look like.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah, given his ADP and all that. So looking at my top 15 real quick, I'll give you one guy I'm not a fan of this weekend, and that's Robbie Anderson. I have him 12th right now, and I'll probably adjust that. He actually might be 10 or 11 for me when all is said and done. But again, just because I say I don't like him doesn't mean you want to sit him or cut him or trade him. It's just for 1 week only. And if you have Robbie Anderson, I would imagine you're not too happy about sitting him. You're going to play him. So maybe it's more of a temper your expectations this weekend. They're playing Chicago, and Chicago has a kid named Kyle Fuller there. He is without a doubt one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Names like Marlon Humphrey from Baltimore get thrown out, or Tre'Davious White in Buffalo get thrown out, because I'd like to say they're more flashier. They play for, like Baltimore. It's like this hot upstart football team, and Chicago is just, boring. But guess what? Chicago's 4-1, and they're playing well right now.
Stupid. It's all dumb.
Yeah. And I would imagine. And you know why is it Roby or Robbie?
I think it's Robbie. I don't know.
I'm going to say Roby.
All right, you do whatever though. Yeah.
So Robbie Anderson was playing for the Jets with Adam Gase, and he was a one route kind of guy.
One straight, baby.
Go straight, baby. And he's found some success with Carolina this season because he's running shorter routes. He's doing like a 10-yard stop or a 15-yard fly, or he's going in the middle of the field. Well, guess what? If he's going to cut into the middle of the field and do any cutesy, tootsie slant passes, you got Roquan Smith in the middle of the field, this young stud, hungry middle linebacker for the Bears. So I think Robbie Anderson's going to have a tough time this weekend. So temper your expectation with him, boys.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Robbie Anderson was a joke with the Jets, and now he's on pace for 115 catches and 1,500 yards. And we do have another question coming off of YouTube, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Help me out, guys. Start 3 in PPR. Miles Sanders, Madison, CEH, Gaskin, JT, Montgomery.
Sanders, Madison. How many? 3 Sanders, Madison. Sanders, JT, and Montgomery.
I like that. There you go.
I've never heard of a football player named JT Montgomery.
I think it's Jonathan Taylor and then
Montgomery.
I'm like, wait a second. I read that like 3 times too before I put it up there.
And guess what? I'm a nobody. I'm just, you guys let me come on for 15 or 20 minutes a week, right? I'm nobody special, but I got to tell you, when you can answer a question like that, just boom, 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 that normally winds up being the best possible way because you're not tinkering, you're not thinking about it. So yeah, I'm running with the 3 I gave you.
You're a beast, dude.
Nobody, you're a beast. Yeah. Come on here and kill it every week, and we just let you roll. So guys, you want to check out Montgomery, Cousins, Jefferson, Mooney, Tannehill. Stay away from Matt Ryan, Wentz, Mayfield, Mostert, Will Fuller, T.Y. Hilton, and any Niners wide receiver. Last week, you said stay away from Rams running backs and Ravens running backs. Drew, you got anything else for Chris before we let him get out of here tonight?
No, man. I think that's it. Chris,
All
as
right.
always, fantastic, brother.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Before we get you out of here, everything go good at the doctor with mom today? All that's good?
Just some
Good
follow-up stuff. Just getting blood pressure and checking her eyes and all that.
Awesome.
She's fine.
No
Brother, we
news is
appreciate
good
your
news.
time as always. Thanks for killing it.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you next week.
All right, Chris. Thanks,
sir.
bud.
You have a great weekend. Later. Dude, Chris just comes on and kills it. We just let him go.
Yep,
We always say we're going to try to slow or get the show a little less time, but hey, when the guy's killing it like that,
I
he's
love the
hot,
show.
we can't take him out. So let's get back to where we were now here. And thank you to the questions from YouTube, which remember, you can catch the show on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope. And then if you don't catch it there, you can watch it on a re-air on any of those. On my Twitter at SomervilleCLE for the Periscope, on our Facebook page, fb.me/FCFSpod. Check the @FCFSpod Twitter for the YouTube link, or you can listen to the audio version on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Pods, Google Pods, anywhere you get your podcast. We are worldwide, and yes, we are worldwide because even though 98% of our listeners and watchers are from the United States or North America, we are still holding down that 2% in Sweden, baby. Those Swedes love the full coverage football show.
People in Sweden love us. What do you? I mean,
Hey.
you act surprised. I mean,
Sweden, we love you too. You know, if you guys want us to come out there for a gig or something, you know, just hit us up. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on Facebook. Anything. But let's get back to what we were talking about at the top of the show here. Let me see if I can find it. We talked about Le'Veon. We talked about Dan Quinn. We talked about Derrick Henry. Dolphins. Let's get to the Dolphins, man. Dolphins crushed the 49ers. 43-17. CJ Beathard ends up replacing Jimmy G, who was 7-17 for 77 yards, 2 picks. Dolphins were up 30-7 at the half. Fitz went 22-28 for 350 and 3 scores. Bro, how about them Dolphins? Was this more the Dolphins having a great game, or is this more the Niners just really struggling?
I thought Jimmy G with that ankle looked really questionable. High ankle sprain, you're gonna miss high. He missed a lot of guys high. I think Kyle Shanahan made the right call by pulling him at the break, bringing CJ Beathard in, because I mean that's doing nothing but killing his confidence. Yes, the Dolphins had a great game plan. They really did. They came in, they kind of put it to him. However, I mean you got to think the 49ers are a better team than that. And I don't know if that Miami's that good. So I mean we know Miami's not that good. So for me personally, as well as Miami did play, I think the 49ers are a better team. And I think Jimmy G this week, the more and more he comes off that ankle injury, the better he's going to be.
You know, I'm with you on that. You know, I've said many times I'm not a huge Jimmy G fan. I still stick with Goff. It's better. And
he's not that bad, though.
But he's not – exactly what I was going to say. He's not that bad. I do attribute this to the ankle, just as you said. And, yeah, that was just a weird game. I mean, Jimmy struggled. Let the guy sit. I mean, let him get healthy. You know, you're 2-3 right now. You drop another one, you're down to 2-4. But if you get a healthy team around Jimmy G, you guys can go on a run and still make the playoffs. Sit him. And Fitz just keeps killing. 22, 28, 350, and 3 scores against that defense. I mean, Fitzy being Fitzy, baby. See the beard rolling in the wind as he ran. Moving on to another quarterback, though. Monday Night Football, we saw the Los Angeles Chargers face the New Orleans Saints in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Both of us were excited about this game, and not for the Saints. We were both excited to watch a guy we ripped down on the show a million times, and we've apologized to already, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert goes 20 of 34, 264, and 4 scores in the 30-27 loss.
He was
How fun is this kid to watch right now?
He was awesome. He's got a rifle. He was fantastic.
I mean, watching this kid off play action, geez.
Yeah, the team let him down. I mean, listen, he played really, really well, going up against a really good team. But I like we said, we ripped this kid. I was shocked. I still am shocked to see how he's been playing lately. I just look forward to seeing what he does in the future. But you're right. I mean, I'm going to tune into a Chargers game just to watch him sling it around, because he's a hell of a lot of fun to watch.
100% with you on that. Props to the kid. Hope he keeps it up. Moving on to the next thing, we're going back to the weekend. The Browns, Cleveland Browns, my team. Yeah, they've been awful for most of my lifetime. They moved to 4-1 for the first time since 1994 with a 32-23 victory over the previously 3-1 Indianapolis Colts. Myles Garrett, stud, sack, forced a pick, and a safety. Hunt, 72 yards. Baker, 2 scores. The defense forced 2 field turnovers. Are the Browns a playoff team the way that things are going right now in your mind? Or do they come back to earth?
Well, they do, but it's borderline. They're a borderline playoff team, in my opinion, right now. Their record's better than they are. And also listen, you played a really good team week 1, you got your ass kicked, and that was okay. And that was okay. Okay. And no one was like, okay, the people were panicking, but that's okay. But the last 3-4 games, you've beaten teams that aren't wonderful teams, not great teams. Mm-hmm. But you have to like what you see from them. I think they're a borderline fringe playoff team, and that's just me being fair. I don't think they're a 11-5 football team by any means. They're a max 9-7 to 10-6 football team.
Yeah, I mean, we both came into the year saying they'd be about 9-7. That's where we were looking at 8-8, 9-7. Now, for that to happen, they'd have to go 5-6 the rest of the way. They play a pretty weak schedule. This was the tougher part of their schedule, but this week is their biggest measuring stick. They play the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are 4-0, and the Steelers really haven't played anyone. 3-15-1, the teams they've played. But it's still the Browns Steelers. This is the first time both teams have been 4-1, and this game has meant anything probably since that 1994 season. So I'm a Browns fan. I like what's going on. But until I see this team play the Steelers well, if they go in there and they play well and lose, I'm fine with that. But they have to make sure they go in there and appear, not like what happened the first week of the season. I will give them credit, or at least the benefit of the doubt. First week of the season, you played a put-together football team, and you were brand new. You didn't know what you were going to get with a brand new head coach. And yes, I'm with you. Screw the Steelers. Thanks, Dad. Can't stand the Steelers, but hey, that is a hell of a franchise. And even 4-0 against 3-15-1 teams, they just keep winning in different ways.
You can hate the Steelers all you guys want. They're just better franchise than you right now.
They are.
And it's just the way it is. And your team's nothing until you beat the cream of the crop. And don't get me wrong, last year clearly you matched up well enough with Baltimore to kind of embarrass them when literally nobody else in the league did. But Pittsburgh's the hurdle here.
Yep.
And here's the thing: if Cleveland wins, they're going to get some respect. And if they don't, people are going to say they're the Browns, and they are a board. I mean, even if they win this game again, I think it's a fringe playoff team. Mm-hmm. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I'm rooting for you guys. We're fucking trash.
To be the man, you have to beat the man, and until they beat the man, they're not going to be the man. Moving on to the Steelers, Chase Claypool, 4 scores last week, 3 receiving, 1 rushing, 7 catches for 110 yards. He had 11 targets last week, 9 the previous 3 games. A lot of people freaking out. Chase Claypool is that new number 1. He's the guy now in Pittsburgh. You buying that, or is this just one fluke game?
No, it's not a fluke game necessarily. He's still not the guy. Chase Claypool is a good player. I mean, we talked about a draft night. I know we did. We talked about it, and he was dominant in Notre Dame. He's a hell of a player. He's not the number 1. It's still Juju. Nobody benefits more from this happening than Juju, because last year he was the X and there was nobody opposite of him.
Yep.
When in years past they had Antonio Brown. If you can get Juju any sort of – Juju seems like the weirdest ass name to say out loud, by the way. When you can get Juju, somebody opposite that can get targets and be productive, that all of a sudden makes him a way better player. When you put Juju in the X spot and ask him to be that guy, it's just not his game, and it's not where he's at. He's not the wide receiver 1 necessarily that can hold a team up without having that second guy, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. Prior to the draft, a lot of people compared Claypool to Megatron. We all know he's not Megatron. There's only one Megatron. Hands down, there's only one. Claypool is that size. He has that speed. But the problem is that Claypool never put it together at Notre Dame. And I can't stand Notre Dame. I can't stand Brian Kelly. But I think the kid has a chance there in Pittsburgh to be special, because nobody builds wide receivers better than the Steelers. You look at the guys who have come out of there: Martavis Bryant, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders. And those 3 guys, when the Steelers were at their peak, those 3 guys were great with Ben. You had Emmanuel Sanders inside, Martavis outside, and Antonio Brown doing whatever. And now with Claypool coming on and Juju and Deontay Johnson, if he can get healthy, those three guys gives Ben a great chance to be really good into the twilight of his career. Problem is they still don't have a guy over the middle who's consistent in a tight end. And you saw that last week, and Lions fans had to be laughing their ass off at what happened with the Steelers last week because they got to see Eric Ebron drop how many passes, how many fumbles.
Dude sucks.
You had the Halloween costume you showed me of the kid who had bricks on his hands.
Brick hands,
exactly what he is. Now let's move on to the two more
However,
things.
I want to say one thing.
Go ahead, get it.
I saw a stat today. So the Lions drafted, of course, Ebron over Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald has 34 pressures this year. The Lions have 43.
Ouch. That is tough. And speaking of tough.
Depressing out here.
That is tough. I mean, I'm used to all the stats being a Browns fan. It's so sad when we look at some of the stats and shit of guys we passed up and the guys we talked ourselves into. When you guys took Ebron, I'm sure you were psyched. I mean, you're like, yeah, go to tight end. He's an athletic guy and go over the middle, But
you're always psyched about your pick. You're always psyched. Like, you're like, yeah, this guy's gonna be awesome.
And then you're like, oh, we passed on Aaron fucking Donald. All right. Speaking of passing up on maybe the right thing to do, Mike Zimmer, right or wrong, up 26-21, 4th and 1, Seattle 6. No Dalvin Cook. First down seals it. Field goal puts you up by 8. Mike Zimmer goes for it. Alexander Madison over right guard, no gain, hit by Bobby Wagner, stopped. Hawks take over at the 6. 13 plays, 94 yards, 1 minute and 42 seconds later. Russ to DK, 6-yard score, 27-26, victory for the Seahawks. Do you kick the field goal, or did Zimmer make the right move to try to seal the game and keep the ball out of Russ's hand?
Nope, seal the game. No, Zimmer 100% made the right call, in my opinion. This is how it is, man. You roll the dice. It's what it is, right? Everybody's going to be criticized at the end of the game. You don't want Russell Wilson to have the opportunity to do what Russell Wilson did. And what you said, that the game was going to be an 8-point game. Russell Wilson still has the ability to go do what Russell Wilson does. I 100% am with Mike Zimmer on this one. I think you that's what you do. You try to go up 8, and you say, hey, we all of a sudden – or no, you don't say we're going up 8. You all of a sudden – because that's again – you're talking about one of the better quarterbacks when we're talking about coming back that we've seen. To me, you try to ice it, and that's what they did, and it was the right call. And sometimes you lose, man. Sometimes it doesn't work out like you want to, and of course he's going to be criticized, but I think anybody that thinks different, I just don't agree with that opinion.
I mean, I think he's being second-guessed more so because they didn't get the 2-point conversion afterwards, which would have made it a 3-point game then. And then you can say, oh, well, you wouldn't have lost. If you play to not lose, you usually lose. If you play to win, it gives you your best chance. You play to win the game. I'm with you. Zimmer made the right move. Moving on to the saddest part of the weekend, Dak Prescott. Compound ankle fracture and dislocation, 4 to 6 month recovery for Dak. Awful, awful thing to see on the field. The skin, the bone broke the skin. It was ugly. Dak, 1-year deal, $31.4 million. He's a 2021 free agent. Dak back with the Cowboys next year?
Yep.
I'm with you. I don't think they let him go. But it is an interesting thing. If this team loses the rest of the way, do they go with Trevor Lawrence? They try to do something like that.
They're not that bad to get a guy like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think Andy Dalton's that bad. I'm with you.
Yeah, they're forced to kind of go where they do. Because even if they're terrible, they're going to win 6 games, and that's not going to get you Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, or Trey Lance, or whoever.
Yep. Let's move on. We've recapped last week, and let's move on to this weekend. Game of the week: the 4-1 Chiefs at the 4-1 Buffalo Bills. 5 o'clock kickoff on Monday. Got all kinds of weird scheduling. Okay. Chiefs last week, 40-32 losers to I'm about to sneeze here. I'm going to try not to. To the Las Vegas Raiders. 13-game win streak gone. The Bills, 42-16 losers to the Tennessee Titans on Tuesday Night Football. Tuesday night to Monday. It's so weird with this COVID stuff. The Bills come in 401.8 yards of offense per game, averaging 27.8 points per game. The Chiefs 407.2 yards on offense, 29.8 points per game. I mean, the Bills are the sixth worst pass defense in the league. Going to force Josh Allen to make plays because you're facing Pat Mahomes on the other side. Who you like in this one, bro?
Kansas City.
Kansas City, easy. Do you think it's an easy victory or it's a close game?
I think it's a 2-score game. I do.
Two-score?
I mean, both these teams are kind of coming off of games that they're kind of scratching their heads at. I just think that the Chiefs have the ability to just kind of light things up. As you said, the Bills' defense, which we kind of think that they hung their hat on, has not been very good, especially in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
I expect the Chiefs to win.
I'm with you on that. I think this game is going to really show what the Bills are made out of, because not only are you coming in and facing the Super Bowl champions at home on a Monday, but you're also coming off your worst game of the season overall. Are you going to be able to run the football? You got to establish run. You got to take some of the game off of Josh Allen's shoulders, because that kid has done everything for them, and that's why I said he was MVP of the league up until last week. I mean, the kid is doing everything for them. He's gotten better with his accuracy. He's made Stephon Diggs look great there. I didn't know how that would look in the offseason. I think we were both kind of skeptical about how good Stephon Diggs would be there.
He's been awesome.
John Brown is a guy. Gabriel Davis. I mean, he's making all his receivers better. Josh Allen's done a great job. But if you're not going to get a running game going and you're going to have to keep up with Pat Mahomes, you're going to have the Honey Badgers stalking in that backfield, and Josh Allen's going to get duped into mistakes. I think 10 points, maybe it ends up being a 7-point game late, but I do think the Chiefs win this one. I'm with you on that. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch in the middle of the afternoon, though, or early evening here on a Monday. Yeah,
I love a 5 o'clock football game because I can have my bedtime.
Catch it right before supper time. Get that early bird supper. I mean, then what's our late game? We got Cardinals at Cowboys is the Monday night game. You know, the matchup we all waited for, Kyler Murray versus Andy Dalton. But yeah, game of the week, definitely Chiefs, Bills. A lot of good games this week. Let's move on to our game picks. You ready to pick games?
Yeah, we going to do rapid fire?
We can do whatever we want. It's our show. 52-21 for me, 46-27 for you. Let's go.
Rapid fire.
First game, Chicago Bears 4-1 at Carolina Panthers. Who you got?
Chicago Bears.
The Bears. I'm also going to take the Bears. That game could be kind of interesting. Moving on, Cincinnati Bengals 1-3-1 at Indy. Who you got?
Indy.
I do too. I'll tell you what, that is a very good tackling football team. Detroit Lions 1-3 at Jacksonville 1-4. Who you got?
Jacksonville.
I will take the Lions. Atlanta Falcons 0-5 at 1-4.
Vikings.
I agree. Vikings in that one, and I like a lot of what Chris said. Denver Broncos 1-3 with Drew Lock returning against New England Patriots 2-2 with Cam Newton. Who you got?
New England. Don't you?
Yeah, I thought about taking him. I was leaning. Washington football team 1-4. How did this not be our game of the week? At the New York Giants 0-5. Do the Giants get their first win of the year?
Yes.
You know what? I am with you on that. I think the Giants get their first win over the Kyle Allen-led team there in Washington. Baltimore 4-1 at Philadelphia 1-3-1. Philly get back on track. Baltimore. Rat Birds for me as well. If I could write these faster, we could do a little more speed. Cleveland Browns 4-1 at Pittsburgh Steelers 4-0. What do you think?
Pittsburgh.
Listen, I'm going to slow it down just to say one thing here. I am a Browns fan, yes. Admit that. Pittsburgh, they haven't played anyone, 3-15-1 combined. But the reason the Eagles look good against that offense is because Carson Wentz stood tall in the pocket and was able to make plays. The run game numbers kind of skewed based on a 75-yard run on one play on a draw play against a blitz. For the Browns to win this game, they have to run the ball well, which I think they'll do, and I think they'll stick to it because that's what Stefanski does. But Baker Mayfield, who I have said many times on this show, and a lot of people hate on me for it, especially Browns fans. Drew, I sent you the text. You know Browns fans don't like when I say this. Baker Mayfield is terrified in the pocket. He bails out of the pocket too early. If he does that and throws off timing, he's going to make mistakes against a defense with TJ Watt and Bud Dupree on the outside, Stephon Tuitt and Cam Hayward in the middle. I think the Browns make this interesting, but I think the Browns do lose. Unfortunately, I am going to take Pittsburgh in this. Please, God, let me be friggin' wrong.
Yeah, no. We said pregame. If you beat Pittsburgh, then maybe I'll care about your team. Maybe we'll think that your team might actually be decent. But even as Brown fans, you have to sit back kind of hesitant right now too. If you beat the Steelers, we might be able to talk about something.
Mm-hmm. And we can talk all we want once that happens. But till that happens, until you can prove me wrong, Baker Mayfield, and step up, especially with that rib injury, I'll just leave it at that. Houston Texans 1-4.
Mm-hmm.
At Tennessee Titans 4-0. Titans. I hope the Titans are up big in this one, and Deshaun Watson has to throw for 400 yards because I have no running backs this week. New York Jets 0-5 at Miami Dolphins 2-3.
Miami.
Not going with Adam Gase, the offensive genius, and Joe Flacco. Well, Joe Flacco and Frank Gore starting for a football team in 2020. The fuck?
Here we are.
Green Bay.
Here we are, brother.
The Bay of Pigs, as Berman used to say. Green Bay 4-1 travels to Tampa Bay 3-2.
Green Bay
moves 5-0.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. I like Green Bay in this one. I think it will be a fun game. That's a 4:25 kickoff. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Los Angeles Rams 4-1 at Niners 2-3. Niners get back.
No, I'm taking the Rams. Yeah, I think the Niners got some cakes to work out over there.
And our final game of the night, Arizona Cardinals 3-2 traveling to AT&T Stadium for a Monday Night Football game on ESPN to face the Dallas Cowboys 2-3. Andy Dalton lead the Cowboys to a victory?
Yes.
So the Cardinals are a hard team to figure out. This is a team I thought was going to be good. They lost to your Lions, and they've been weird ever since.
I won't touch them gambling-wise. I just don't know who they are. I don't know what they are. I am staying away from them.
I'm going to take the Cardinals in that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, moving quickly on to everyone's favorite part of the show, the star of the show. Last year, 2-1 last week, got back on track. We're at 500 this year. 7-1 on the year. Brother, who do you have for us this week?
I'm going to take Minnesota -4 at home against Atlanta. Yes, we are fading Atlanta. To hell with them. Second game, I'm going to take Miami +3 at Denver. I'm all about Miami this week. Lots of the public's with me, 89%. Listen, they blew out San Francisco last week. We'd love to see it. Last pick of the day, I want to take Tennessee Titans -3.5 at home against the Houston Texans. Listen, Houston's got problems, man. Houston, we have a problem. That's all I got.
Excellent. As always, I'll bring it back on here. So,
Minnesota, Miami, Tennessee.
Dolphins, Jets. What was the spread on that one?
What's up?
Dolphins, Jets. What was the spread on that one? I didn't write it down.
Mine is 3. Miami's getting 3 points.
All right. And anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here tonight?
It's a good show, brother. As always.
Good show. Hey, New York Jets. Free Sammy G, baby. Free Darnold. It's time. All right, everyone. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube. Thank you to the questions. Those are our first YouTube questions on the show. Thank you to Rock Out. And I'm sorry I lost track of the other person's name. Team Out of Nowhere. Thank you for checking us out. Thank you to everyone who joined the show tonight. Remember, goodbye. See you next week. Live show at 8 p.m. on our Facebook page, fb.me/FCFSpod. On our Twitter, Periscope, at Somerville CLE. Get the YouTube link on Twitter at FCFSpod. Follow Drew at DetroitDave7. Check out the audio version available on Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods, iHeartRadio, Anchor.fm, and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. Thank you to Chris for joining. Check him out at Detroit Beastie on Twitter, fantasypros.com. Check him out. He is a big FCFS FOTS. Joins us every week between 8:10, 8:15. Brother Drew, I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy
You as well, my
the
man.
football. We got a big college matchup we didn't even touch on. 2 versus 3 matchup. Bama versus Georgia. Who you like in that one?
Bama, if it happens.
I like Bama if it happens as well. Nick Saban now has come down with the COVID. And brother, I hope you enjoy your night. And everyone else, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember, as always, if you live the life you love the life you live. Night, kids.